Councilman Kaplan, John Shadanian, can I get a sound check from you gentlemen quick?
Test.
Councilman Kaplan? I'm having a hard time hearing you, Councilman Kaplan. Councilman Kaplan, John Shadanian, can I get a sound check from you gentlemen quick?
Test. I'm here.
Mayor, can I get a sound check from you quick?
1, 2, 3.
Councilman Kaplan, once more, I apologize.
You're on mute. Keith, you're on mute. Well, we still can't hear him.
Still can't hear you, Councilman Kaplan.
Drop off and come back.
All right, okay, yeah, you got it. We'll wait for him. See Mark Schwartz. Who else we got?
Thank you.
Sounding good there, Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Seeing
The
Councilmember Rice.
meeting is being recorded. It's live on YouTube right now.
We're waiting for Councilmember Rice.
Yep, I see her. There's Dean Kaczynski. I don't see Dean.
Try that again.
Councilman Organ. You said I can hear you a little better, Councilman Kaplan.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. I can hear you.
Hi.
Councilwoman Rami Rice, can I get a sound check from you quick?
Yes, sir. What's weird is though, this is the second time I've logged in. I can see and hear you guys, but you can't see and hear me. So I logged back out and back in. So
I'm not sure. I see you perfectly right now.
yeah, now because I logged back in, but it's all good.
I assume Zoom's
All right,
having some
Cody.
issues tonight. Dean, can I get a sound check from you quick,
Yes,
please?
1, 2, 1, 2.
Sounding delightful.
Tell me when you're ready, Doug.
Yes. Hang on, let me hit all the proper buttons here. All right, Mayor, whenever you're ready, you can start with the pledge.
Okay, let's call a meeting to order. Stand. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right.
Roll call, Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Present.
Councilman Began,
Present.
Councilwoman Organ,
Here.
Councilman Kaplan,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Here.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by resolution number 203-2019, sending a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2020 by way of resolution number 218-2019, filing a copy in the Township Clerk's office and posting it on the Municipal Building Bulletin Board, and the mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, everybody. We have a couple of announcements. First of all, the Township Administration's president tonight's meeting are Dean Kaczynski, Township Manager, Doug Roussillon, Acting Township Clerk, Clarence Barnes, making sure that the Starship Teaneck is up to date and fresh and clean, Building Maintenance Worker, Ron Goodman, making sure we look great and sound great, our volunteer cablecaster, and John Shadanian from the law firm of McCusker and Selmy, Rosen, and Carvelli. Some upcoming events and council meetings. The next televised council meeting will take place on Tuesday, December 8th at 2 p.m. The Teaneck Local J11's book, Images of America Teaneck, is still on sale in the Township Clerk's office for $20. Municipal offices will be closed tomorrow, Wednesday, November 11th for Veterans Day. There will be a ceremony on the municipal green tomorrow starting at 11 a.m. And I believe, Dean, that's rain or shine. Am I correct?
Yes, that's rain or shine, 11 o'clock.
Okay. Please remember to social distance and wear a mask if you do attend. The municipal offices will also be closed on Thursday, November 26th and Friday, November 27th, in observance of Thanksgiving. And also, although we're going to be doing a resolution, and I feel pretty comfortable that it will pass tonight. So I want to make mention that on November 15th at 2 p.m., there will be an honorary renaming of Voorhees Street as Henry Pruitt Way. We're looking forward to that. The council met in closed session to discuss the following: board interviews, property negotiations, public safety, rent control, AUCC, legal issues and/or opinions on any item on the open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. Okay, so with that, we'll move on. I don't think we have any presentations this evening. Work session items, any miscellaneous? Any old business? Any new business?
Mayor Dunleavy,
Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have no new business to report, obviously. I'm just letting everybody know, members of council and the public, that I think we're having some audio issues on our Channel 77 live stream. We're currently addressing it, but if anyone is on Channel 77 and they aren't hearing anything, please get to our Township website. We have, the Township website feed's going to be screwed up, but I believe our YouTube channel and our Facebook, and obviously you can log into the Zoom. It's all live right now on YouTube, Facebook, and on the Zoom. But Ron's addressing that right now. I just wanted to let everyone know.
great. Thank you. So under new business, we have 2020 best practices inventory. I don't know who put that on.
I
Doug,
believe that was just for council, public's consideration.
May
okay,
I could just quickly comment on that. That was submitted to the state, and we achieved the proper score for any sort of funding.
okay, great. Communications, I have several. I know there's one listed here. I think it'll bleed into that. The Dean and I have been having conversations with leadership in Bergen County NAACP. We had a meeting, I guess it was last week, Dean, all right?
Yes, that's correct.
And we discussed the area of the ordinance related to the Civilian Review Board that is very, very old. It's more than 30 years old. And we discussed some wording changes to it. We're going to continue to discuss that. And I told them that we would probably bring something back after the first of the year for your consideration. But there are other things that have to be considered, and one of two things. One, there's been a recent litigation in Newark that came down against the structure of their Civilian Police Review Board that we also have to take a look at in light of anything that's changed in our town. And two, there is legislation pending that was, I know, put into the assembly in September, and I think a similar piece of legislation is in the Senate that calls for a number of changes and things in civilian police review boards. So we're going to have to take a look at those things to see how that would impact anything that we change relative to the wording in our ordinance, so that we're consistent with what the law will say and what current legal and judicial findings have been. So those discussions are going to continue to occur. I think we're going to try and meet in early December again and review wording, and then we'll move forward with that and bring something to you for discussion. In addition, I've had I guess a Zoom call, if you want to call it that, with members of the FDU faculty, both here in Teaneck and their satellite campus in Vancouver, British Columbia. Dean was on that call with me, on that Zoom with me, along with Alan McGinley from our library. We started to talk about little bit more concrete ways in which we can move forward with activities and lectures and educational opportunities that I think the library can really help out with respect to racism and all aspects of racism. And I'm hopeful that I'll be able to bring something to the council at the December meeting, an outline of what we think will work. What I'm going to also what I also need to do now is if Councilmember Romney Rice is available at the end of the week, I need to sit down with you and to discuss the different groups and different groups of interest that we need to address. Maybe you can get information from the Advisory Board on Community Relations on this, but also your own experience. So that, because what's going to happen is we're going to make this as township resident driven as possible. It's not going to be a council driven process. I have looked at the council as the catalyst, not the director in this. So what I'll be trying to bring forward to you is to bring you a task force type of proposal that will run this type of thing. And on that proposal will be members of many community groups throughout TNEC. So that I think that's the way in which we need to have these conversations and not a yes, no type of back and forth within council. So that's right now what we're planning on. And I'll be, as I say, reaching out to you, Councilwoman, for your insight on this. And yeah, you have a.
I just wanted to share with relation to the letter that the council did receive thus far already, that we know that we do have community group TNEC Women Together. We're very ready and willing to be participants. Also, Clergy Council has spoken with a number of clergy members that are very interested in having this conversation and being part of this work, and a number of other grassroots block associations. So I don't think we'll have any challenge with gathering community residents.
No, I don't think we will either. I just, one of the things I fear, and I learned this fear from trying to write legislation in New York for my profession. And that is when you start to get involved in writing lists, the big problem is what part did you leave out? Not what you left, what's in, but what part did you leave out? So my concern is not to leave anybody out. So that's why I'm going to have you work with me, Councilmember Rice, and really I'll take advice from anybody on the groups, and then we're going to, as I say, I'll bring you back a template for discussion at the December 8th meeting. Okay. All right. Committee reports by council liaisons. We had one annual report from, I'm sorry, Mark.
No, I'll wait for you. You have a listed one. I'll go after the list.
Okay, and I think Councilmember Oregon, you're going to do the nominations here.
You'd like them now?
Mr. Mayor, actually, Mr. Mayor, I have a quick committee report. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, but now I've recognized Councilmember Oregon for nomination, but yes, we can do that then. Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember Oregon.
Okay, I would like to nominate Judith Mars to the Stigma Free Advisory Board and Megan Dunleavy to the Pride Advisory Board.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm fine, except let the minutes, I'm going to recuse myself, obviously, on any votes for Megan Dunleavy. Okay, thank you.
You
All
can
right.
vote against her, I think. I think you can vote against her.
Can I vote against her?
Yeah.
You don't live in this house. Councilmember Pagan, you had something.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have a quick committee report. The Shade Tree Advisory Board met on October 22nd for the first time in a few months, and a very good conversation was held on Tropical Storm Isaias, a municipal and state forestry plan, a tree inventory system, and our goals for the advisory board, along with a lot of other good topics. The next meeting will be in early December, and I will be sure to let this council know how that goes too. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Yes, Councilor.
Mark Schwartz.
You have one too, Mark? Go
Yes.
ahead, Councilmember Rice.
Yes, Council, we have a report from the Youth Advisory Board. They met recently. They elected their officials, their advisory board officials, in terms of their president is now Ben Fox, running again as the president of the group, and Kasai Sanchez is the VP of the Youth Advisory Board. Also, the Hackensack Greenway met. They had a concern about an Indian pond overflow, an issue that was there. It was quickly brought to Dean's attention. DPW, they remediated. Thanks, Dean. We got some pictures today. I forwarded to the group. They're very happy about the current mediation of that issue with Indian Pond. They do have a number of other issues, but we're very pleased with that outcome.
Great. I have one report from Most in PPRAB. Most met. They're going to put together a number of items that they would like to see us use Most for. They are certainly in favor of the some of the potential properties that were discussed that would relate to use of Most money legally. But they also were in favor of us using Most money to help with the building of an enclosure for a rainwater barrel that was donated to them by, I think, Hawthorne School, I think it was. And they would very much like us to use Most money for the building of that. I've already spoken to Dean about that, and he's working on it in terms of doing it the right way that will stand up to weather and things like that. And I think the number, Dean, wasn't somewhere in the area of 15,000, something like that?
Yes, it was roughly in that area, Mayor.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So they're going to move forward. PPRAB is looking at all the parks, and they're looking at both, but from the standpoint of what needs to be repaired, but also what additional things would enhance the use of the parks, the various parks that we have. So they're going to be, I'm hopeful that they will have that list for us before the December 8th meeting. And I can bring it to you then and certainly share it with Dean. That was something that both the manager and I had asked them to look at and do for purposes of budgeting and in purposes of what is needed throughout the town and all of our parks. So you'll be seeing that coming forward. And I have to say, with somewhat sadness in my heart, George Riskakis, who I think everybody knows very well, has been a staunch supporter of environmental activities throughout this town for many, many years, is leaving Teaneck. He's in the process of going to retire, and he's moving, I think he told me, up to Waldwick. So I'll be asking us to do some type of recognition of him for his many, many, many years of service to this town and this community as a whole, probably at the December meeting. So, Councilmember Rice.
Mr. Mayor, George mentioned that he would like to stay on with the HG, the Hackensack Greenway, if possible. So I was just wondering if we could keep him connected to Teaneck in some way with the Greenway. So if there's
The ordinance, yeah, the advisory board ordinance doesn't necessarily restrict to Teaneck residents. If an advisory board feels they need someone who has expertise or whatever, they could bring that in. I don't think there would be too much of I don't think there'd be too much of an objection for that.
I'm sure that they'll be happy to know that and make sure that they make that request.
Yeah, sure. That's great. Okay, that's all I have. Anybody else have a
Mark Schwartz.
mini? Oh, hey, go ahead.
Ah,
I'm sorry.
yes. Okay. Cedar Lane Management Group, we've been meeting. Obviously by now you all heard the Halloween part. The Halloween aspect was canceled. They're working on seeing what they're going to do around Christmas time. Planning board has a meeting this Thursday night with several things on the agenda. And the Teaneck Historical Preservation Commission, gave initial approval for a project on Teaneck Road, a small project on Teaneck Road. That gets sent over to the planning board. Part of that project is a cleanup and really nice job working on that historical structure at approximately 489 or so Teaneck Road. I forget the exact address. So all our commissions are the ones I'm related to, are really moving forward. Everyone's working during these times with individual groups with lots of great volunteers.
Great. I'm planning sometime this month, just so Keith, I'll recognize you in a sec. I'm planning sometime this month to have another conference call just with the advisory board chairs, just to check in with them again, to see where they're at after running their meetings and whatnot for a few months under the new ordinance, and if there are any questions and any concerns. Councilmember Kaplan.
I wasn't able to make this last meeting due to a work conflict, but the library board has been working very diligently. They just had the story walk open in Sagamore Park today. The Environmental Commission has thanked us for clearing the logjam that prevented them from getting documents. That was something that was brought to council's attention for a couple times. So apparently everything is clear there. They are reviewing things and functioning as they should. So I just wanted to report everything is in good working order.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Rice.
I just wanted to add that I attended the story walk today, and it was really well attended by many patrons from the library. Dean was there as well. We missed you, Mayor. I understand that you weren't able to attend, but I spoke on your behalf, and it was really, really a great event. The book was All Are Welcomed, and it was along the lines of their theme of inclusion and diversity, and I think that it was just very well done. And they plan to change out the storybooks, perhaps every other month, and looking for community engagement, participation, suggestions about books, and just another way of bringing literacy and community building to Teaneck. So it was a very great event.
Yeah, thanks for being there. I was sorry I couldn't get there. I got stuck at work.
Same.
So, anybody else? Any other reports? Okay, great. Council listed items. Proposed resolution supporting high-speed internet accessibility. Councilmember Kaplan.
This was brought to our attention from another town that passed it, and I thought it was incumbent, especially during COVID, when so many people are dependent on high-speed internet access. While it doesn't affect Teaneck as much, we do have some people that don't have as many internet options as others, especially when it comes to high-speed access. So I don't really suspect there's any downside, but I'd like to help support the other municipalities that are pushing for high-speed access for everyone in New Jersey.
Does anybody have an objection for Councilman Kaplan to pursue a resolution on this? No? Okay. Sounds good.
Wonderful.
Councilman Kaplan, I'm sorry to interrupt. Were you trying to?
I will move it to part of the consent agenda as a walk-in resolution. Thank you, Doug.
No problem. Do we have a second on his motion?
Michael.
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilman Kaplan.
Thank you,
Okay.
Doug.
Item 2, Teaneck as a veteran-friendly municipality. Councilman Pagan.
Thank you, Mayor. Teaneck has the second largest population of veterans in Bergen County because our veterans know this is a great place to live, work, and raise a family. The New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce has a wonderful new initiative that helps towns like Teaneck become veteran-friendly municipalities. And I'd like to see if we have 4 nodding heads to pursue this initiative for our veterans through an ordinance or resolution. But before I ask my colleagues on this council that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the program, which provides veterans and their families with a number of opportunities. For example, a veterans-friendly community provides good faith effort guidelines on procurement opportunities, a veterans hiring program, and parking dedicated to veterans. There are 10 guidelines for certification that I'd like to read into the record. And please bear in mind that Teaneck already has many of these principles already in place. Guideline number 1, proactively notify veteran-owned businesses of public bids and opportunities. Guideline number 2, good faith effort to award 6% of municipal contract dollars to veteran-owned businesses. Guideline number 3, for contracts awarded to non-veteran businesses, request 6% of subcontractors be veteran-owned businesses. Number 4, good faith effort to achieve a 5% veteran workforce of municipal employees. Number 5, discount for local licenses and permit fees for veterans. Number 6, preferred parking for veterans in municipal lots. Number 7, promote awareness of state fee exemption for local metered parking. Number 8, municipal commuter lot permit fee waiver reimbursement for Purple Heart recipients. Number 9, 1 annual Patriot Day public celebration honoring the service of veterans on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and or the anniversary of 9/11. And guideline number 10, the final guideline is annual public recognition of the service of a resident who has served in the military. Those are the 10 guidelines, and I'd like to know what y'all think and whether we have 4 nodding heads to pursue this initiative with our manager and staff. What do you guys think?
Any comments?
Just a question about the percentages, or those aren't binding, those are just suggestions?
Good faith, yeah, good faith effort.
Yeah, then I think it's great.
Councilmember Rice, did you want to say
Yeah,
something? Go ahead.
I'm sure that we'll find that many of those initiatives we've already put in place. For instance, the event that's taking place tomorrow with the veterans. So a lot of that, I know between patriotic observance and our active community members, we probably can check that list off quite quickly.
Okay. All right, so without objection, and I hear none and see none, we'll move forward with that, okay?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Thanks for bringing it up.
yep. Number 3, proposed resolution endorsing Senate Bill 3781 to establish a permanent daylight saving time. Councilman Kaplan.
Yes, for people with young kids, for people without young kids, for everyone, changing the clocks twice a year is insane and does absolutely nothing of benefit for society. It has a lot of drawbacks. There's a marked increase of lack of attendance at various jobs. There's stress on the people. There's been a move by various states, and some states have gone through with it, to do away with standard time and leave daylight saving time all year long. New Jersey has a pending bill to do that. It would only go into effect if New York did it with us, I believe. And I would like to put this resolution forward to promote our lawmakers to take action on it.
I agree. Nodding my head, yes. Thank you.
Any objections?
No.
Okay. Keith, you wore me down.
Motion to add to the consent agenda, please.
Second.
Still your friend, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Number
Myself.
4, Mark. you can
Yes,
go to that for us.
it is that time of the century that we need to start talking about replacing our DPW. We've pushed this off as long as possible. We've gotten all the reports we need as it relates to the river side and the cleanup. There's some lands and some sites that we want to start talking about, some shared services with other towns in the county. I'd like to establish a task force to look into a new DPW site, and I'd like for Councilwoman Organ to lead it, assuming she doesn't kill me for mentioning it, for volunteering her right now.
I would love to.
Okay. So there's a
Join too?
discussion. Councilman Pagan.
Just volunteering if I could join the task force as well.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'd like to actually volunteer. I'd like to volunteer Mr. Pagan as well. I know there's some a lot of county work there, so I think he'd make a good mix to that. So I like those two.
So we have
I
Councilmember Morgan.
see a hand being raised.
I'm
by Deputy
assuming,
Mayor
well,
Council.
hold on. I'm assuming everyone is for this DPW task force.
Oh,
Okay, so that's number 1. So we're moving a DPW task force. And the members of it, currently the names are Councilmember Pagan, Councilmember Organ, one more, Councilman Rice, I saw one hand. Okay,
I just
Deputy Mayor
want
Council.
I just want to
Oh.
clarify, when you say that we're for this, we're just for the idea of making sure that our DPW has a safe and secure place. We're not saying where that place would be located, correct?
No. This is just a task force to go forward with this.
Just
So-
wanted to make sure I was clear.
Right, so, okay, so I have Councilmember Organ, Councilmember Pagan,
Ellie, were you raising
Councilmember
your hand?
Rice. Did you
No,
want
it's
to be
okay.
on it?
Yes.
Councilmember Rice?
Yes.
Okay,
No question.
yes,
Just for clarification, and I spoke to the deputy mayor yesterday, this is not to replace the zoning subcommittee that's going to be involved in the older site of the DPW. This is the, to secure the new site for the DPW, not the zoning portion. Is that correct, Deputy Mayor?
that Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
This is an overall, this is, we don't zoning or subzoning on the what to do if we leave the River Road site. And again, we have no idea if we are or not, then that would be a separate conversation on what to replace. This is really focusing on the physical structure of the new DPWs.
Okay, are we all right with that? Okay, so we're in agreement that we'll create a DPW task force with the three members being Councilmember Organ, Councilmember Pagan, and Councilmember Rice.
Well, I'm sorry, Ellie, did you also, were there 3 or 5? I see a bunch of hands coming up. I know I
I
don't want
was
to, but
willing
are
to
there other
join.
people?
All right, but guys, we can only have 3, okay? And in addition, we can also ask residents, if we so choose, to bring in other people with expertise on these task forces. That's the definition of the task force. Okay, so those are the three people that I saw first.
That was Pagan, Oregon, and Romney Rice,
Wait,
correct? Mayor?
so can we actually, sorry, based on what Council Deputy Mayor Katz said, as well as the other site, I want to know with land and everything, how that works, Mr. Attorney. Maybe this is better off for, put this on hold and going to, for a closed session. If we're talking land purchases, I'm sorry, I know you usually say land goes into closed session. Is that correct?
Yeah, we shouldn't be discussing anything with respect to a potential land acquisition because that's a negotiation, which is the subject of a closed session until it becomes public.
All right, so you know what, I'm gonna actually put this, if Mr. Clerk, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, because a lot of this was land focused. I'm sorry about that. I should have listed another closed session. I'm actually gonna move this, if we can move number 4 first, back to our next closed session meeting.
Okay, so what you're doing, okay, so basically what's going on is that the motion to create the DPW task force is being withdrawn by the maker.
No, it's being shifted. I don't care. I just want to talk about it first in a closed session because it was
That's
land.
fine, you
there
can
was-
do that, but for purposes of this meeting right now, to move forward, because something's on the table here, I'm saying, will you remove, you're withdrawing it, and you can bring it back in closed session.
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to apologize. Councilman Katz's question had me reevaluating my thing. I do apologize.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. So
Sorry about that.
you're withdrawing. Okay, so the maker of the motion is withdrawing to create the task force. Okay. All right. Township managers report.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a few important announcements to make. Again, I just want to remind everyone, I did this at the last meeting, of the importance of getting a flu vaccine this year. Again, it's to protect yourself, your family, and our community. The flu vaccine can also help to reduce the burden on our healthcare systems responding to the COVID-19 pandemic and to save medical resources for care of COVID-19 patients. And the following information is not to alarm everyone, but the facts are the facts. To date, Teaneck has 1,400 COVID-related cases. The death toll, however, remains at 107. The township is experiencing, as well as Holy Name Medical Center, an uptick in COVID cases. And I can't stress enough how important it remains to wear a mask and to practice social distancing. We're still in the midst of a pandemic. Governor Murphy announced yesterday additional restrictions to include the prohibition of indoor dining between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. All bar seating is prohibited, and the governor is also prohibiting interstate indoor youth sporting events. so no one from out of state can come to New Jersey and vice versa. The state of New Jersey had 4,247 new cases today, numbers we haven't seen since last April. In addition, 1,645 people are now hospitalized across the state. This is the most we've seen since June. And the state unfortunately experienced 21 new deaths today. Again, this is very concerning to me as the manager and to everyone, including our workforce and residents. It's imperative that our workforce and residents remain healthy and safe. For that reason, I'm making the decision to close our public municipal buildings to the public starting Monday, November 16, until such time the numbers decline to a level that's safe and acceptable to reopen. And this is important. Members of the public will be able to conduct business by appointment only. I'll be publishing a press release, reverse 911, blast email, and website posting soon that will have contact information for the public to easily reach our departments. More than 2/3, again, this is important, more than 2/3 of the municipalities in Bergen County never reopened. TNEC did on July 6th, and for the most part, we were pretty successful in keeping everyone safe and healthy. But most of the municipalities in Bergen County remain closed to the public. We still have the Dropbox, we have email, the website, everything will remain available as sources of communications to our residents and customers. Hours of operation are going to remain the same for now, so there's no change in operating hours. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 to 5:15. Tuesday, we're open until 7 p.m. However, again, this is going to be done by appointment only. Mask wearing and temperature checks are going to be required for anyone entering our municipal buildings by appointment. So that's the first thing that will be done, making sure a resident and or customer has a mask on, hits the hand wash station, and their temperature is taken. I recently released information on available COVID-19 testing locations. I sent out a nixle on Monday. If you're not getting these messages, please sign up for our township alerts at www.tnecnj.gov. Also, Newbridge Medical Center in Paramus continues to provide testing to anyone with or without symptoms. No prescription is needed. You should go to their webpage to sign up online for COVID testing. You can easily do that online. Holy Name Hospital, Holy Name Medical Center, I should say, also offers drive-through testing. However, a prescription is needed. This is done through the Carriage House. Residents can call the following number, 201-833-3313. Again, that's 201-833-3313 for additional information about COVID testing. TNEC recently hosted the mobile testing unit. We had about 500 residents tested and many received flu shots. So we considered that to be a very successful day. My thanks to County Executive Jim Tedesco for providing these resources to the township. Moving past COVID, the 2019 road resurfacing project is nearing completion. The remaining streets are on the west side of the township and will be completed by month's end. The 2020 road resurfacing project list of streets is being finalized now. We're looking at resurfacing 20 streets and our municipal parking lot. We have several gravel roads that are under evaluation right now. This has been brought to my attention. These streets have been gravel for many, many, many years. If we do consider this, it's going to require a special tax assessment if I move forward with resurfacing these streets, which more than likely will have to include drainage and sewer work. So I'm working with the engineer right now to cost this out. Maybe we can get one or two of the gravel roads done in 2021. As Councilwoman Rice mentioned, we did the repairs to the Indian Pond Trail. They are complete. I'm going to be walking the trail next week with Assistant Superintendent Trevon Romeo, who was responsible for getting that work done at Indian Pond Trail the last couple days, to determine what else needs to be done and what else we can do right now to make it a safer trail. Asbestos abatement at the PAL building is scheduled to take place on November 20th. The provider, EDI, had to file their permit with the state. You have to give them 10 days notice. That will be followed immediately after by the demolition of the PAL by another vendor. So that will be down sometime in the beginning of December. I'm hoping to complete some additional traffic calming striping and markings to include rumble strips on Queen Anne Road between West Anglewood and State Street by the first week in December, weather permitting. We also are applying, and there's a resolution on this evening, for an NJDOT Transportation Alternatives Program grant, which would maximize pedestrian safety and make streetscape improvements and surface transportation to that same area. It's going to take a few months before we hear if we receive that award. We received our first reimbursement from the CARES Act. The second application was submitted, and the third application will be submitted in a few weeks, as well as our application to FEMA for reimbursement. Two recent hires: I hired John Urban as a tree climber and Kyle Blake as a laborer for Public Works on November 2nd. That will help him out with some staffing issues. We conducted the 2021 department budget request, the public hearings that took place last week. My thanks to our CFO, Isa Abbasi, on that project as well. I think everything went pretty well. And as the mayor said, Veterans Day tomorrow, 11 a.m. on the Municipal Green. Rain or shine, we partnered with an organization that will be providing lunches to any veteran that shows up tomorrow. So again, it's 11 o'clock on the Municipal Green, rain or shine. That's it, Mayor.
Great, thank you.
Dean?
Hold on one sec, Councilmember Rice. Dean, do you have any report on how we're doing leaf-wise in town?
Yeah, so far so good. I have not received one email complaint about the leaf pickup so far this year. I guess that's a good sign. I spoke to Kevin about it. Again, so far so good. Again, we're going around on a daily basis, zone by zone. It's all hands on deck. I have not received any complaints. I know the leaf vac is working okay. And again, some of the problems they do encounter with the leaf vac and with leaf pickup in general is that residents are putting wood, they're putting shrubs and other debris in these leaf piles. And it has to be separated before it's loaded onto the truck and before it goes down to the leaf depot. With the leaf vac, if there's anything heavy in there, branches, shrubbery, anything like that, it will clog the chute. So those are some of the issues I know they do encounter on a regular basis during leaf season.
Okay, great, thank you. I think Councilmember Rice and then Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes, Dean, you mentioned doing a trail walk with Jerome.
With Ron?
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanted to know if you could invite Marie Warnicki or the HGA, anyone from the HGAB
Sure.
advisory board, because I think that they would benefit from having that walk with you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Also, Dean, I did mention this in open session, but just want to reiterate, you are in constant conversation with our schools and superintendent as the schools are getting ready to open on the 16th, as the township is getting ready to close. So I'm sure that you're keeping in close communication with the school district, correct?
Yes, when I made the decision today to close to the public next Monday, I sent an email to Dr. Irving and his assistant Terry Corallo, so they're aware of it. They responded back to me. Of course, anything that they need from our end, we'll make ourselves available.
Thank you, Dean.
Okay, Councilman Kaplan.
Dean, one question I get a lot is whether or not the COVID test cost the residents any money. Can you just share how the cost structure is for residents going to get tested?
Well, with the mobile testing, again, if anyone goes to one of the mobile test sites and they're having them in different areas of Bergen County, they want you to bring your insurance card if you have one. If you don't have one, they are not going to charge you. Now, with Holy Name Hospital, if you go there, I believe, don't hold me to this, I believe there is a charge of $60, 60. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center, I believe, does not charge as well. So again, with Bergen Newbridge, you can go right online. You do not need a prescription. You do not need to have symptoms. You can do it right online, make your appointment. Where Holy Name, you need to call that number and you need to set up an appointment with a prescription.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Dean. Township Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, there is no additional report besides what we discussed during the closed session on the legal items.
Okay.
Litigation.
Okay, thank you. Formal meeting items, public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Doug, can you read in the ordinances, please?
I certainly can do that, Mayor. This evening, November 10th, we are considering for adoption ordinance number 29-2020, an ordinance amending and updating Appendix 3, fees and charges for township services of Chapter 2 of the Township Code entitled Charter Administrative Code, as amended by Ordinance 1-2018 and 5-2018 to add Recreation Department fees for the use of the Votee Park Fieldhouse. We are also considering for adoption ordinance number 30-2020, an ordinance establishing salary ranges and classification of positions for municipal employees in the township of Teaneck included within Local 820, Council 52, AFSCME, AFL-CIO for the years 2020 to 2021.
Thank you. Now we'll open it up to public comment on these two ordinances. So Doug, you can.
You got it. Mr. Alan Sohn.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir. Give me 1 second. Let me get the timer. Again, members of the public, Mr. Sohn, I'm just going to remind everybody it's a 3-minute limit. I'll give people a few seconds for the technological lag that sometimes occurs. But again, after that couple seconds, I will just cut people off because I really don't like interrupting people anymore. So I'm just going to turn you off once that 3-minute mark comes. Please don't take it personally. I don't like muting people either. If you feel like your thought was not accurately articulated in your 3 minutes, please feel free to send an email to clerk@tnecknj.gov, and I will be sure to quote you verbatim via your email in the minutes. Sorry, Mr.
Sure.
Sohn. You have
This
3
is for the
minutes.
ordinances only, right, Mr. Clerk? This is just for the ordinances?
Just the
Yes.
ordinances indeed, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, Mr. Sohn. I apologize.
No problem. How much to charge for rentals? Look at the cost of construction. Architect John Ficcaro promised that the so-called field house would be $800,000 to $1.2 million. Unfortunately, delays by the township attorney, errors by the architect, and screw-ups by the contractor, all combined with expansion to the kitchens made without public notice or approval, have inflated the cost, now probably closer to $2.5 million. I thank the clerk for a copy of the contract, but there are no details of the actual all-in cost. Based on square footage, complexity, and commercial equipment, it's easy to estimate that the two kitchens cost a total of about $1 million or more. These kitchens will be rented out for $100 per 2-hour session, as all anyone needs to do to put a resident's name on the application to get the resident price. It will take 10,000 rentals of 2 hours just to break even on the cost of the two kitchens, assuming no wear, tear, misuse, or damage whatsoever during the rental, or cost of township staff to monitor the use. If the kitchens are rented twice a week, it'll take 100 years to recoup the costs for the kitchens designed to last 10, maybe 20 years. Only 66 years if non-residents pay the full cost. The now destroyed hockey rink costs more to rent per hour to non-residents than a kitchen that is the genuine hazard to life and limb if misused. The ordinance has no details on security deposits, no details on insurance requirements, despite the fire risk and the lack of fire hydrants on Palisade Avenue. No verification that users are trained to use this kind of commercial kitchen equipment. No details of the license required by Section 1721 of the code for retail food establishments or the 2-hour food handler training required by code. We were told repeatedly that the kitchens were created for use of the 2 sports leagues, but it's clear now that they were intended for other purposes. What third-party organization is seeking to rent kitchens? Who exactly is the intended beneficiary? If it's all for an outside user, why is that unnamed beneficiary not paying a fair share? A check for $500,000 would go a long way to recouping the inflated costs of this kitchenplex. But as the saying goes, why pay for the cow when you can just rent the cow at convenient hourly rates? The other claim was that this was about providing bathrooms for park users. The bathrooms are too far away from anyone using the swimming pool, splash pad, basketball or tennis courts, or anything at the north end of the park. And it's too far, 4/10 of a mile round trip, from anyone seated or playing a game on the football field. There'll be no net savings from the reduced porta potties, and the kitchenplex will cost far more to maintain and operate than it can possibly earn in revenue. Is it too much to ask the attorney, the architect, the contractor, and all those who jacked up the price to reimburse taxpayers? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sohn.
Is there anybody else, Doug?
I don't see any other hands at this time, Mayor.
All right, we'll close the open comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Jorgensen, I'm sorry.
Mark Schwartz, Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz, how are you?
Go ahead,
Sorry, if I
go
can just, two things. If I can just, the town manager, the football field, I don't think is really remotely close to 4/10 of a mile from the bathrooms, maybe 400 feet. Can the manager who knows this project intimately, I thought we were at 2 million or under 2 million. Would you just talk about that for a quick second?
Yes, we fall in that area, Deputy Mayor, under 2 million. And also we do have a OT Park Field House application that addresses all the information that the Superintendent of Recreation needs, including certificate of insurance, fees, covers the meeting room rules, kitchen rules, the application process, covers COVID related safeguards. So everything is spelled out in that application that the Recreation Department possesses.
And just for your measurement, how far is it from the football field, both walking around and by the crow? How far is that to the bathrooms?
It's very close. It's close, very close.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Councilmember Rice.
Just wanted to know if we had a unveiling, a grand opening date for the field house.
So I am setting that for a week from this coming Sunday. So that is the 22nd or 23rd, I believe, but it'll be a week from this coming Sunday, and I'll put out an announcement to the council probably by Thursday.
Yeah, just so you know, we've been working very diligently, I guess, Dean, you want to call it that,
Yes.
with getting Altice to do the hookups so that we could move on from our temporary CO on the building. I don't want to go into detail. It's just been
Cable
very
is in, we're
difficult.
just waiting for the boxes to get
Right.
in, and that should do it.
Yeah, I've been in almost daily discussion with them. It's been difficult. So I'm glad to hear we set a date. I'd like Township Council to say a few words with respect to the comments made about the field house.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it goes without saying that we've heard what I like to call the same old song from Mr. Sohn repeatedly at our council meetings about the delays at Voti Park and with the field house. And I think anyone who has objectively looked at what has caused those delays, as I have, as members of the council have, we received all of the correspondence from Green Acres with respect to outside individuals from TNEC, including Mr. Sohn and his Dr. Powers, who both were regularly communicating with Green Acres, objecting to things that the township was doing, and causing Green Acres to go back and look at what was a totally appropriate plan that was submitted, and then tell us they had to continue to evaluate it and delay the project. And there is simply no other reason for it, because once I got involved in that situation and I had the discussions with Green Acres and the other people in my office who were discussing it with Green Acres, the project moved along very quickly. And the manager and I had a meeting with the Green Acres folks down in Trenton, and they more or less acknowledged that was in fact what had occurred, that they were continuing an evaluation of this project, which was not something that was raised by anyone on the dais here or with the township, but from outside individuals in TNEC who have a recognized agenda of trying to interfere with township operations. At this juncture, I think it's patently unfair. It's my belief that it was done intentionally, and it's patently unfair for Mr. Sohn to come to council meetings and make comments like that and blame the architect for the delays and blame some kind of, like, it sounds like he's alleging some kind of vast conspiracy to delay the field house. I mean, that's the farthest thing from the truth. If anything, we were pushing it as hard as we could to try to get it done, and the gears in Trenton don't always work as fast as the gears do in Teaneck. So, unfortunately, there was some delay going on, but it didn't come from our end. It certainly did not come from our end. And I think it's absurd and ludicrous for him to keep coming and saying that when he has no evidence to back it up.
Thank you. And I'll only say it, put a little ribbon on this. And if I recall the number correctly, the main cost to all of this obstruction to the township came in, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000, because we lost bids that were already in place, but they couldn't wait. And so we had to go out and rebid on several parts of this project. And I believe that cost came in somewhere around $250,000. Okay. So right now I'm going to move ordinance number 29, 2020 and number 30, 2020. Do I have a second?
Second, Mark Schwartz.
Mark Schwartz seconds. Call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Yes.
Councilman McGahn.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
And Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
Ordinance 29 and 30-2020 adopted, being sent out for publication.
Thank you. All right, now we'll open up the meeting for good and welfare on any and all things that the public may want to discuss. And Doug will be bringing him in, and then we will discuss after. So go ahead.
I see a hand here, Mr. James Veach. I'm going to bring him in. Mr. James Veach and members of the public, I know I just made this announcement, but I'm going to make it one more time that you have 3 minutes to state your concern or a question. And if you get to like 3 minutes, 5 seconds, I'm unfortunately going to need to mute you to keep the agenda moving. If you feel that your comment was not accurately articulated in your 3 minutes, please feel free to send me an email, clerk@tnecnj.gov, and I will be sure to include whatever comments you send me in your email verbatim in the minutes. Again, I don't like cutting people off, don't like muting people, but I really just don't want to interrupt anybody in their streams of thought when they're talking. So again, you have 3 minutes, Mr. Veach. Can you hear me?
Doug, I can hear you. Thank you very much.
No problem. 3 minutes, sir.
I'm going to try to do this in far fewer than 3. At the last meeting, just before the election, the Councilman Schwartz and Councilman Kaplan talked a little bit about the referendum on the open space. I don't think all the votes have been counted, but it looks as if the referendum has passed, and we're going to have a municipal open space trust fund for another 4 years. One of the arguments that came up, not arguments, but one of the statements that the councilman made was something to the effect that, well, one of the things you should think about when you go to vote for this referendum is access to matching grants. For example, the county. The county, of course, has an open space trust fund, and TNEC pays into that trust fund. I checked with the director of land management and the person who's also responsible for the Bergen County Trust Fund. And I asked him, is it necessary that a township have a tax and most municipal open space trust fund to qualify for matching grants from the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund? And he wrote me and he said, no. Specifically, he said, quote, having a municipal open space tax and trust fund is not a prerequisite to applying or receiving a Bergen County Trust Fund grant. And I also asked him about other municipalities in the county and whether they, if they didn't have an open space trust fund, were still getting matching grants. And he wrote, quote, all 7 municipalities in Bergen County have received a trust fund municipal park improvement grant. Not all municipalities have a municipal open space trust fund tax, close quote. So if you voted for this thinking you had to, in order to get open space money from the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund, you were misled. Now, the trust fund has passed and taxpayers are now going to be sending $500,000 into our trust fund. I'm urging this council to post these transactions and all the funds and all the accounting online so that we can all see it. And we can see what's going in, what's coming out, and how this money is being spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veach, for your comments. That was indeed under 3 minutes.
Anybody else?
I'm not seeing anyone currently, Mayor.
Okay, then we will close good and welfare.
Second.
Understood?
Okay, we'll close good and welfare now. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Anybody have anything they want to pull from the consent agenda? No?
Yes, Mayor.
Sure.
Can I pull 250-2020?
To
Uh,
50.
I'm
Are
sorry,
we
that's a
on the
resolution.
consent agenda?
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's all good, Councilwoman. I just
Hold on.
wanted to make sure I wasn't sleeping.
Yep.
Mr.
No,
Mayor,
I was.
is there an opportunity to make a comment for good and welfare by us?
I'm sorry, Councilman Kaplan, you are correct. Councilwoman Rice will hold on that. I will mark that as being pulled. Councilman Kaplan, please go.
I will be very
My
quick.
mistake.
I
My
just
mistake.
wanted to mention a couple recent events. Obviously, we had an election. TNEC had record turnout. I've been tracking the returns, and I got a report today. There were over 22,700 votes received from TNEC. I just want to thank my fellow citizens for coming out. The Board of Ed had 3 newcomers that seemed to have won handily for their election bids, and one of them has, for those keeping TNEC history, the highest voter turnout for any TNEC position in our history.
Thank you, Councilman Kaplan. Anybody else have a comment relative to good and welfare? Okay, I just had one item because I neglected to bring it up at the when I was talking about the lecture series in NAACP. I responded to the TNEC Women Together letter that you see in the agenda tonight, and in it I made clear that our promise to the mural committee was to obviously do the mural and to do an extension for another 3 months, which will be coming before us on at our December 8th meeting, which will bring us out into April. And in that letter, and I've had a couple of emails, and I'm sure perhaps some of you have also had emails with respect to making this permanent. My feeling is that decision it should not be made now. That should be made at the end of the 6-month period, probably in April, if I did my counting correctly, and to decide just what it is, because there are a number of things that have to be taken into consideration, such as cost and manpower, if it's to be permanent. So we have to look at that. But I know people have expressed this. I expressed in my response to them that that's the process that we're going to use, and that's the process that I think is probably best for the township and for council to deal with this in the proper manner. So I just wanted to put that in there because I did forget to put that in there earlier. Okay. Any other comments before we move on to consent agenda? Councilmember Rice.
Yeah, just real quick, Mayor, I just wanted to thank you for that notice so that residents can be aware that as we embark on April, to be vigilant as we look at cost and concern, because there may be residents that are interested in making donations. I know I constantly hear people that are making donations and commitments that they would like to donate towards that. So whatever maintenance costs, I think is, as the committee is made aware, that April is a time frame that the committee and other residents can work towards that end.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that have to be discussed first before we even think about it and moving forward with that. So, okay. All right. Now we'll move to the consent agenda that I jumped to. And I think Councilmember Rice, you wanted to pull 250, 2020, am I correct?
Correct, on the, as a resolution, yes.
Okay. So I didn't hear any others. So
I
Doug, if-
also believe that you need to note, Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt your stream of
ahead.
thought there, noting the two walk-in resolutions from Councilman Kaplan. One was suggesting the high-speed internet accessibility, and the other was endorsing a permanent daylight savings time. And respectively, they will get numbers 251 and 252-2020.
Saving.
okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I also pull the resolution 235, 2020?
235.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Gio, give me 1 second, Councilwoman. You're pulling 235 and 250.
Correct, thank you.
All right. Okay.
And we are including 251 and 252-2020, which were those walk-ins.
Correct.
Awesome.
So Doug, if you can call the roll on the consent agenda minus 235 and 250. With the addition of 251 and 252.
Indeed. And I need to say the bill list into the record, Mayor.
Correct. Yep. Go ahead.
So it's the bill list in the amount of everything else that the mayor just mentioned, excluding 235 and 250-2020, and the bill list in the amount of $10,288,872.41.
So moved, Mark Schwartz.
Second,
Second.
further discussion on the consent agenda is moved.
Roll call, Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Yes.
Councilman Bagan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes, I'm going to recuse myself on the bill list and on the resolutions.
And I'm
Any
sorry.
other recusals, Mr.
Mr.
Rice?
Clerk, yes, thank you so much. Just wanted to make sure that I recuse myself on the bills list in the event that there could possibly be a conflict.
that's EK and GR. Deputy Mayor Katz, I apologize. Did you say that you are recusing yourself on the resolutions also?
Yes, please.
Okay. Mayor Dunleavy,
Yes.
consent agenda adopted except for 235 and 250-2020, which we need to discuss further.
Okay. So 235, Councilmember Rice.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to further discuss because we have a simple matter of changing the time from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I know that at one point in time, we made those changes to accommodate our seniors, I suppose. That was the reason given. So I'm just curious as to why we're changing them back. It perfectly works fine for me because I had to take those days off. But I just was curious if there was an explanation.
I'll speak and then Councilman, anybody else can chime in. I mean, from my perspective, since I know we're going to be on Zoom, the issue of having our seniors be able to attend physically is now no longer there. While at the same time, there may be others who may still want to have an afternoon meeting. So I didn't totally knock it out for 2021. But I think for this time, for December, and given our work schedules, I think it's only fair to all of you, as well as, since it's not disenfranchising anybody from logging on and coming on and seeing what we're doing. So that was the reason.
Great, thanks for that point of clarity. And then the second poll was for the, this was
Oh,
just
hold on,
added.
hold on, Councilwoman Rice. Ellie, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I wanted to say your half part, and then the second half was it's also to accommodate the residents. As you know, many people that are at home now are not just parents, but they also become teachers and helping their kids with the Zoom, etc. So the day has become very complicated for many of our residents. So it's a twofold for us and for the residents. Obviously, primarily the residents.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anything
Just-
further on that one, Councilmember Rice?
Nope, just figured that's a good point for the residents to be aware of.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, can I take 250 for Councilwoman Rice?
All right, Council.
Yeah, I
Councilmember,
just
what do you want
had
to
a,
say?
yeah, I just had a question with regard to the consultant that we had previously had, the Nature Conservancy that worked with us. And now that was a $10,000, I believe, expenditure, and now we're spending another 20,000, and just wanted to know how they were related. And this was just something that was just added to our agenda, I believe, yesterday. So was just seeking some further clarification and details.
Council-
Yes,
Mr.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, you and I have been in touch on this matter. The planning board requested that a new planner take a fresh look at the OSRP that, Mr. Mayor, you've been pushing to get approved. And we sourced, I think our legal department sourced a proposal from the Schween Group, and maybe he can speak to who they are for a minute, to take a fresh look at this so we can get that the long-awaited open space recreation plan approved. But again, that was a request of the planning board and backed up by, I believe, most in PPRB to source that proposal. And maybe, Mr. Attorney, you want to introduce the Nishane Group, if maybe?
I mean, I'll be glad to do that. I'll just echo what Deputy Mayor Schwartz said, which is that the attorney for the planning board reached out to me to ask on behalf of the planning board chairman that the council approve a planner, because the OSRP was not written by a planner per se, and that in looking at who was available to do that, Mr. Price, who's the township planner, that we thought it's better in this particular instance to use the alternate planner, which is the Nishwain Group, which is headed up. One of the principals is Michelle Dellisfort, and she is the person who's the going to do the actual review, and just give the planning board some guidance on what's in the OSRP as we've already, the one that we've already obtained. The recommendations we obtained, and walk them through what they need to do to adopt it, because the OSRP that we got didn't really tell them what to do, and they wanted a professional, from the planning side, if you would, not the legal side, to give them some guidance on what exactly they need to do and why they need to do it.
Okay, so this is an additional expenditure on top of what we spent to explain the report that we just paid for.
I looked at it more like a retainer, Councilwoman Rice did. I don't think it's going to cost. I mean, I would hope it's not going to cost 20,000. I think that. I mean, I don't know what they're going to charge ultimately and how much time the planning board is going to take with them, but that was a number that was, I was comfortable with, based on I had ascertained from a couple of other municipalities what they spent on their OSRPs. They're significantly smaller than TNEC, and they spent a lot more than $10,000 for them. So I wasn't like, the numbers that I was seeing did not jive with what we obtained. So I assume I talked with them, those OSRPs that they got in other towns, those open space recreation plans, included a counseling component, which ours did not. Ours was just a draft of the plan.
Okay, so will the original consultants that we use be a part of this process?
That's up to the planning board.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Just to answer that, maybe I could put a different perspective to it. I was on the planning board when that consultant came, and it was very confusing, and I understood why they chose not to act on it. We were looking for more clarity, and it wasn't coming from the presentation. So if I were still there, I would be happy to have somebody come in and explain differently.
It's just interesting, because we spent $10,000, and it seems like we should have certainly got our money's worth with clarity and
Yeah.
explanation from that original presentation, and now we're spending more money for someone else to give a different point of
And
clarity.
she was lovely and it was a great presentation, but I wouldn't have, I was confused and I had been there for a while. So I understand wanting more clarity before they pass something like this.
Also, we were quite impressed, those of us who met the Duchesne group. I believe she is the mayor of her town as well, Mr. Attorney, is that correct? So she had a lot more insight on where we're coming from.
Of union. It's a word of
Michelle, remind me her last name?
Delasport.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further comments on 250-2020?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right. I move resolution 235-2020 for adoption. Do we hear a second? Second.
Are you saying 235 and 250 or just 235?
Yeah, let me move both. Okay. Yeah, since we've already discussed. Good point, Doug. So I'm going to move 235 and 250, 2020. Second.
Was that Michael? Was that Councilman McGon? Sorry.
Yes, it was.
All right, roll call. Councilman Rami Rice.
Yes.
Councilman McGon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Just adding these to the recused.
Also, did I hear that you're recusing yourself from these also?
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
235 and 250 pulled from the agenda, but still adopted.
Thank you. All right. Introduction of ordinances. Township Clerk, please read them in.
Yes, I apologize. Tonight, we are introducing two ordinances. Ordinance number 31-2020, amending section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 36 entitled Traffic of the Township Code, deleting restricted on-street parking spaces for the handicap at 1101 Cooper Avenue. And ordinance number 32-2020, an ordinance amending ordinance 19-2020 entitled an ordinance authorizing a special emergency appropriation pursuant to NJSA 40A, Chapter 4, Section 53H for the payment of contractually required severance liabilities of the Township of Teaneck, County of Bergen, New Jersey.
Any council discussion on these two items? Councilman Kaplan?
I just want to double check that our ordinance that put a sunshine on handicap spaces would affect this eventually, if our council can opine. If not, just that could we insert language that it's subject to the sunshine, the sunset ordinance?
It should, the answer is that ordinance has already been adopted. So because that ordinance has been adopted, that should.
I believe it carries over to all new ones, so that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
We're
that's what I
deleting
thought.
this one though, Councilman Kaplan, correct?
What's that?
Are we deleting, isn't this introduction? So we're deleting, the one that for introductions is a deletion, not an addition.
My apologies. Never mind that.
Good catch, though, Councilman Kaplan. I had a conversation with council recently, and those are indeed included in the ones where we're establishing them, but we're
Excellent.
getting rid of this one completely, so.
Great.
I
Is
think
that it? Any other comments on the two ordinances? No? Okay. Clerk, call a roll.
Could I have someone move it, please, Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. I move ordinance number 31, 2020 and number 32, 2020.
Second.
Councilman Rice?
Roll call, Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Yes.
Councilman Begon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Councilman Kaplan? Give me a thumb.
Yeah, I can't hear you. There you go, thumb. That's a yes for Councilman Kaplan. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
Ordinances 31 and 32-2020 are introduced, will be considered on December 8th.
All right. I have no further business here, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mark Schwartz.
Second.
Second. All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? And Karen, get your sleep. I know it'll be great tomorrow.
Okay, good luck,
Let's
Karen.
hope.
Okay?
Thank you.
Good luck.
Everyone be safe. Be
Good
well.
night.
Happy
Safe, everyone.
Thanksgiving,
Good
everybody.
night.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
Everybody, please be safe. We will see you next time.